Hello there. Do you know that 90% of students fail English language not because of poor vocabularies, but the improper use of punctuation marks? In today's lesson, we shall be talking about punctuation marks and how to effectively use them in your writings. Do you know some of the qualities of a good speaker? He or she is someone who uses the correct pauses at the right time so that listeners can get his or her message. It is easier for anyone to identify pauses in writing since they are indicated with punctuation marks. Do you know the number of punctuation marks used in English language? Write them down. Did you get 12? If you did, great job. The 12 punctuation marks used in English are the capitals, the full stop, the comma, the semicolon, the quotation mark, the question mark, the exclamation mark, the dash, the hyphen, the apostrophe, and the bracket. Now that we know the 12 punctuation marks used in English language, let's learn how to effectively use them, starting with capitals or capitalization. Capitalization simply means writing the English alphabet with capital or uppercase letters. Here are a few examples. The following are all capital letters, and capitals are used for two main reasons. 1. They are used to mark the beginning of a sentence. What this simply means is that anytime you write a sentence, you have to begin with a capital letter. Here are a few examples. Example 1. We are going to school. Example 2. How are you? Example 3. I love chocolate. What did you notice about the word that begins each sentence? Each word begins with a capital letter. Secondly, we use capitals to write proper nouns. Do you know what proper nouns are? Proper nouns are names of people, places, days of the week, rivers, to mention but few. Here are a few examples. Monday, February, Ghana, River Nile, John, Charles. Let's now shift our attention to the full stop or the period. Firstly, the full stop is used at the end of all sentences except questions and exclamation. Consider the following illustration. 1. Observers are worried. 2. They named the baby Majid. 3. I love my country. Secondly, the full stop is used after an abbreviation. What is an abbreviation? An abbreviation is a shortened form of a word. Here are a few examples. AM, PM. It is worth noting that in modern times, names of abbreviated organizations or institutions are not followed by the full stop. A classical example is BBC. Let's now shift our focus to the comma. The comma has many uses, which includes 1. The comma is used to separate items in a list. A list is the naming of things in succession. Let's look at the following examples. There are 5 red balls, 2 white balls, and 3 green balls in the bag. Example 2. She eats bread, butter, and cake every morning. Example 3. Mary likes reading stories, watching movies, and playing the piano. Secondly, the comma is used to separate introductory connectors. Here are a few examples. Firstly, in the first place. Finally, in addition to that. Also, the comma is used after a vocative. Examples include dear learners, dear listeners, Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, to mention but few. Next is the colon. The colon is made up of 2 dots and is used for the following purposes. 1. It is used to introduce a list of items. Example: the following numbers were drawn in the National Weekly Lotto: 10, 23, 25, 11, and 70. Example 2. When coming for the job interview, come along with the following items: your certificate, a testimonial, and your CV. Secondly, we use it to separate chapters from verses in quotations from the Bible. Example: John chapter 10 verse 2, Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. Another punctuation mark worth discussing is the semicolon. The semicolon, in the first place, is used to separate 2 parts of a sentence which are too closely connected to be made into separate sentences. Study the following examples carefully. Example 1. To err is human, to forgive is divine. Example 2. Some books are to be chewed, others to be tasted and digested. Let's now shift our focus to the dash. The dash is a long mark used in writing. It is important to note that the dash is longer than the hyphen, and they function differently. The dash is used to mark the beginning and the end of an interruption in a sentence. Here is an example in this regard. My son, where has he gone? He would like to meet you. Secondly, the dash is used to introduce an explanation of a word or expression earlier mentioned. For example, my herbal drug, the strongest of them all, lion bitters, is very expensive. Next is the hyphen. The hyphen is shorter than the dash and has several uses. 1. The hyphen is used to form a compound word. Study the following examples for a clear picture of this point being discussed. Father-in-law, self-determination, self-control, happy-go-lucky. Secondly, the hyphen is used to join a prefix to a root word. Here are some examples. Anti-revolutionary, proactive, non-Ghanaian. Also, it is used at the end of a line when writing to indicate that the word is not hyphenated. However, it was broken for lack of space. Example: resides, nation. Let's now shift our focus to the apostrophe. It is one of the symbols students hardly use correctly, so do well to study this lesson carefully. Firstly, it is used to indicate the possessive case. Here are a few examples. When using singular nouns that do not end in s, such as boy or girl, we add apostrophe and s as follows. Boy becomes boys. Girl becomes girls. With plural nouns that end in s, we add only an apostrophe. Example, ladies becomes ladies' hats. Girls becomes girls' dormitory. When using nouns that do not end in s, such as children and women, add the apostrophe and s. Example, children's library, women's wear. Also, when using names that already end in s, you can either add the apostrophe and s or only the apostrophe. Example, Thomas becomes Thomas's. Jesus becomes Jesus's. The next use of an apostrophe is to indicate the contraction or omission of some letters. Example, he is or he has becomes his. 1980 becomes 80s. Always remember that the apostrophe is not used with certain pronouns such as it and yours to show possessive case. The correct form to show possession is its without apostrophe and yours without apostrophe. We want to believe that you know the symbol for the question mark. Even though students are aware of this mark, they hardly use it correctly. The question mark is used after a direct question. For example, how are you? Do you like this movie? Did you go to school yesterday? Next is the exclamation mark. The exclamation mark is mainly used after an exclamatory word, phrase, or sentence. Here are a few examples. Oh my God. Good gracious. What a day. Do you know the symbol of the quotation mark? They either appear as pairs or singles. They begin and end a quotation. The quotation mark is used to indicate titles of stories, poems, songs, articles, to mention but few. Examples include The Schoolboy is a poem written by William Blake. Romeo and Juliet was written by William Shakespeare. Once Upon a Time is a poem written by Gabriel Okara. Finally, let's shift our attention to the bracket. The bracket is used to offer explanation to what has been said earlier. For example, when the lawyer cross-examined the suspect, he, the suspect, admitted entering the office. Congratulations! We have succeeded in learning all the 12 punctuation marks, so it is our hope that you will use these punctuation marks correctly anytime you write. Thanks for watching today's video. See you in our next lesson. And please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video.